Tired of the hype about living the dream? It's time for truth. This is the place for tools, power, and real talk so you can create the life you dream and deserve. Your ultimate life. Subscribe, share, create. You have infinite power.
Hello there, and welcome to this special episode of Your Ultimate Life, the podcast created to help you create a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy by serving with your gifts and your life experience. This is a special Thursday edition, which is aimed principally at coaches. And then we're talking about this technology change or explosion that's happened in the last year or two. It's going on before that, but really come to the fore in the last year. AI, artificial intelligence, large language models, and that sort of stuff. And I'm doing this to bring coaches that I know that are active in the coaching business to talk about what that technology change is doing or potentially could do to coaches. So Stuart Wade from England and Dave Orton from Idaho, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us on, Kellan.
Yeah, you bet. So there's no real format. I don't have a series of canned questions to answer. Dave, I'll just start with you. Why don't you just take a minute to muse a little bit about what you've noticed or are noticing about AI and its impact that you've either seen or that you expect maybe that it's going to have in coaching?
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to start broad and then narrow it down. Broadly, we don't know yet all the things that I can do. I read a paper that said that AI can look at a picture of a person's eye, and tell whether that person is male or female, genetically speaking.
Wow.
That we have no idea how. What?
Yeah. Is that scary, or am I supposed to be impressed, or what? Right?
Sure. How I respond to that? What the point is that we don't know what we don't know yet about what the full capability of AI will be as we continue towards AGI or whatever we want to call that moment when it becomes so much smarter than us that we will not quite be sure how to handle it, right?
Like when Skynet shows up, right? And the
Terminator. We're in the Matrix,
Yeah, right.
But if we take that now narrower, just in the general job market, the guy that I was in technology for years, and the man who trained me in technology back in 99, 2000, I saw a post from him today that said when he interviews for very technical positions now, it's not about the technology. It's not about the skills. It's about how well a person can use AI tools to help them in their job, about what they like about the tools, what their ideal tool would look like. And that's the focus of his interviews now, which kind of blows my mind. Now, as we bring it into coaching, there are two things that I've had the opportunity to observe. So I've subscribed to JP's AI coach. So JP Morgan, quite a famous coach in the world that I belong to. And I went to a demo that he did with Townsend Wardlaw, and saw a demo of his AI coaching platform where he's trained it up in his voice, using his words, got I don't know how many thousands of hours of transcripts of his coaching that have been loaded into this model. And I have two statements that might sound somewhat contradictory, but they don't, it's an and world. This AI is an and world. It's not an either or world. Is the AI coach as good as JP? No. JP in person is just so much more powerful because he can interrupt, he can respond immediately, he can be present with you and present with the divine at the same time. There are those things that occur to me that AI is not going to be able to touch in the near future. Is it valuable? Oh my gosh, yes. For $20 a month, I get 35 minutes of coaching time and then a whole bunch of messaging time with this AI version of JP. I tried it out again yesterday just to see how, because it's on this continuous improvement plane, if you will, inclined plane, upward spiral, and it's just been amazing. So for direct coaching, yes, it's valuable, and it's not the same as being with the actual person. So it occurs to me like there will always be a premium for in-person presence. The second thing is Townsend's practice bot, basically. It's this model that he set up and is giving away to coaches as part of his coaches operating system, where people can go into ChatGPT. So long as they have a subscription to ChatGPT, they can go in and practice calls vocally with the AI as though they were having the different calls that you have when you're onboarding clients and coaching clients. And you'd still run into the things that you run into with coaching, where with large language models at this moment, they are overly affirming. They're reluctant to be critical. They want to tell you how good you've done. And you know what? That is a fantastic quality to have when you're practicing and putting in your reps as a beginning coach, because man, we need encouragement more than we need advice sometimes. Even if we're not doing great, we need somebody to pat us on the head and tell us we're doing great for trying, whatever that is. And this model that Townsend's created is really, really good at that. So that's kind of those are two different areas of coaching where I feel like it is, AI is just, if you're not in it, your lunch money's being taken and you don't even know it.
Interestingly, JP already was a guest. And his episode is, I think, live. I think it went live last Thursday. So I talked to JP about his model, and I actually have a tab open. I haven't really used it a lot, but I know that. And Townsend, the guy you referred to, Stuart, that you may not know, wrote the foreword for the book. So he knows it, and he knows all in it. He read it, and he said, "Oh yeah, I'm in." So pretty exciting. Stuart, I want to get to you with kind of the same thought. Tell me what your experience has been and what either impresses you or scares you or whatever about this thing that's happening.
Thank you, Kellan. So I actually agree with everything Dave just said. I think it's going to make coaching a lot more accessible for people who maybe couldn't afford to hire a decent coach beforehand. But it's not going to replace coaching, because we need that human connection. If the pandemic taught us anything, we need each other, and we need that human interaction as well. And so I can really see it enhancing things for more people to actually get involved and have a coach for whatever purpose they see fit. It's interesting with how different people feel about it. I was having a conversation a couple of years ago now with an app developer who was talking about wanting to develop a coaching app, but his words were, "I don't want to destroy the industry." And, part of me is thinking, well, you're one person. That's a big thing to take on, to destroy an industry by yourself. But I don't see it as a pessimistic thing like that. I see it, as Dave said, it's an additional thing that we can have in addition to in-person human coaching. We've then got these AI coaches who can help people at different times of day. We're not bound with an AI model by time. Realistically, we could get coaching in the middle of the night if we wanted to with it. Whereas with a real coach, they might be working 9 to 5. So I think there's a lot of upside with it. I do have a lot of optimism with it. But again, to reiterate what Dave said as well, we don't know what capabilities are going to come with AI and how soon. It's advancing all the time, isn't it? But yeah, how soon is it going to become fully sentient? How soon is it going to advance to where it's almost like you're talking to a real person? We just don't know yet.
Thanks, both of you. I'm going to throw something controversial out there so you can argue with me, both of you. Yeah. So one of the things that I said, 95% of coaches won't be able to make a living, and I still think that's true. And I'll tell you why, and I want you guys to tell me either I'm wrong or what's going on. Because most coaches right now don't bring, you mentioned Townsend, you mentioned JP, and we know, all three of us know coaches that are very powerful in terms of the presence that they bring. Most coaching is not at that level. Most coaching right now, and the reason that it struggles, 50-something, 56% of coaches don't even make 50K a year, and it goes worse than that. And when I did the analysis in the book, I asked Chatty I did hundreds of hours of research to analyze 11 different coaching models in terms of what they promise, how well they deliver, how vulnerable they are to what AI can do or will be able to be doing, and that sort of thing. And the analysis came back really scary. And ChatGPT doesn't have a dog in this fight, so it's not trying to come back and tell me stuff for whatever reason. And so checklists, frameworks, accountability language, affirming stuff like that, all that kind of stuff that you noticed, Dave, that you mentioned, is all true in spades. And in the 4 months it took me to write the book, I saw the capacity double. In other words, its speed, the accuracy of research, the depth, just in that 4 months. And so, if it doubles every 3 or 4 months, that's 16 times better in a year. And so double, right? And so the reason I think what I think is because most coaches are not the embodiment of what they teach. They talk about stuff. In other words, they've learned some tools and practices, all of which may be good, all of which may be valid, but aren't going to be, they're very duplicable, including affirming language and interpreting moods and that kind of stuff, which I tested a lot as I was doing the research, writing the book. And so I don't think coaching as it currently stands is anywhere near at a level that will withstand what AI can do and will be able to be doing very quickly, which is why I think the outlook is pretty dismal unless coaches are willing to do the work that it takes to completely change how they show up. So what do you think about that? Either one of you, I don't care.
Go ahead, Dave.
Go for it.
Okay, let's make sure my audio is working. There we go. So what I notice is that I think I was misunderstanding your take on this, Kellan. I think I was expecting that you were talking about how or the possibility that all coaches, including coaches who make a big freaking difference in the world through their presence, would be out of a job. And my initial thoughts on that, and I get that I'm fighting a straw man now, but I'm going to duke it out with this silly straw man, is that there's a couple of things. First one is adoption. 25 years ago, I don't think anybody would have, or 30 years ago, let's put it 30 years ago, I don't know that anyone thought that the physical phone book was going anywhere, right? And in about 2000, it started to become clear that at some point that was going to become redundant. But it still took a decade and a half or so to get to the point where nobody was making physical phone books anymore. Because what was the frickin' point?
Right, waste of paper.
Exactly. So that was the view I was taking with that's the straw man I was fighting in my own mind here. I can't argue with you about the quality of the coaching that is generally available. It doesn't what I think you're actually discussing here is that the bar of entry into the coaching realm is so low that somebody who reads 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that's the only self-help book they've ever, or the only self-development book they've ever read, can go out, declare themselves a coach, and from that book, work people through those 7 habits, and they're going to have results, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And that is not enough to that's not enough to make a living or to make a big freaking difference in the lives of people. It's lacking the depth that, phenomenal coaches that well, like you, Kellan. I mean, I've had the opportunity to talk with you when I've been in the depths of hell. You're one who can reach down to the depths of hell and say, "Hey, I know this. I know these roads. I've been here. Let me help you out of here." I've been in hell. I help people get out of hell. A person who's read a book, one book or two books or 10 books or 100 books, but has no practical experience with things, is not going to be able to elevate people the way that someone who has that depth is going to be able to. So I apologize for fighting the straw man. Thank you for.
I didn't know you were fighting a straw man. It's all good. That's why I said 95%. I was at a meeting the other day, a kind of a mastermind thing with about 50 people, and someone was up there talking who was doing an AI model, and they were saying 100% of coaches. And I got up right after him and I said, all right, you leave my 5% alone. And we were talking about, because it's the ante. Like, the bar is low as it is. And what I'm saying is that entire part's going to go away, and it's going to go away so fast we're not even going to know what happened. And so I'm writing the book and making this conversation and claiming what I'm claiming. And I said before, I'm starting a university in January. The point is, we've got to either elevate or die. And that's just the way it is. Just like when digital streaming came in, Blockbuster and VCRs and the hardware and all that crap just evaporated in a heartbeat. And I remember in the 80s at work, everybody arguing about which was the best VCR and the models and JVC and this and that. And now the whole thing is gone and they're all doorstops. And so that's what's happening here. And I am raising the flag, and you don't need to, whatever. So keep going, or Stuart, whatever.
Yeah. So I kind of agree with your point, Kellan. I'm just not sure on the time scale. I don't necessarily believe that it'll be by Christmas next year, like you suggested, but I could be way wrong on that. You've done a lot more research on this than I have. But one of the things that or rather came to mind while you two were chatting there, was one of the things that Dr. Richard Bandler said to me way back when I first started doing NLP, and is that if you're not getting smarter, you're getting stupider. And so in this ever advancing world of AI and everything, if we as coaches are not getting smarter and adapting, then we're going to get left behind, and we're going to be in that 95% that's, essentially going to be out of a job. So I think, yeah, if you're not doing things to advance yourself as a coach and advance your visibility and get out of obscurity, then you could get left behind if you're not careful with AI.
You're a lot more gentle than I am. I'm like, you are left behind. You're screwed if you don't wake up. And I postulate 3 reasons. And you guys can argue. I've done a bunch of research, but that doesn't mean anything. That just means I did some research and drew some conclusions. That there's 3 things that I think are going to prevent coaches from making the kind of advances that both of you, all 3 of us, have alluded to. And one is what I call the head in the sand problem. So we're going to pretend this isn't happening, or it's happening, but not to me, not now, not so fast, whatever. And we're going to keep going along what we're doing. And then the tsunami's going to hit and we're going to drown. Boom. So that's problem number 1. Problem number 2 is the ante has gone up. And the picture I have for this, and I use this in the book, it's kind of funny. Big casino, great big casino. It's all these blackjack tables, right? And all the $10 blackjack tables are full of robots. And the only place that there is for people, me and you, to go sit down is in the high roller room, but the ante there's $10,000. And so it's like, oh, crap, right? And the third thing is the kind of growth that you both have said, in my mind, and this is where you can disagree, isn't learning more. It's being different. Okay? It is about how we choose to be every day, all day long. That presence, that beingness is the thing that's going to matter. And unless you're doing and developing that, I don't give a frick how many cool books you read, because it's not going to change the game anymore. Here's what I noticed doing the thing. Like, I put a million words. I had a thread called 1,000,000 words in ChatGPT, and I put like books and all that crap in there. And then I ask it questions like, who am I? Tell me who I am, and no bullshit, and don't be nice. And I did that to avoid its bias to be too nice, right? And so I said, all right. And it came back and said some stuff to me that emotionally moved me. And I thought, okay, jerkweed, you are code. How come I'm having this emotional reaction reading words? Right? And it said, I'm not doing anything. All I'm doing is reflecting who you are. And I thought, okay, point taken. So I think those three are the things. Head in the sand, the ante's gone way up, and it's hard work. What do you guys think? I think that's what's the name of the game anymore.
Yeah, you make a compelling argument, I have to say.
Well, I don't know. I mean, this is why we're having this combo. I just want to know what you guys think, what you've seen, either in your own practice or with others, that you know.
Right. Well, if I may take a swing at this, this is so funny, Kellan, because I got to go a little bit more broad than just coaching here, because this AI is going to affect all
everything.
Facets of our lives in ways that we can't even consider right now. Yeah. I helped. You ever seen one of these?
Yeah.
There's my beautiful wife on here. This has become the way to have pictures of people in our wallets. Now it's your save screen, your home screen.
Right.
But I got to be involved in the production and first generations of the smartphone, in the development of the smartphone.
Oh wow!
And there are major unintended consequences that have come from that, such as a lot of the car crashes that happen now are because people are dicking around on their phone instead of driving. Now, I just want to give that as a frame to, let's now take 30 years ago, nobody had one of these. They didn't exist. The technology didn't exist. In 2 or 3 years or 4 years or 10 years, 30 years from now, we can't even imagine what is there. Like, have either of you ever heard of iridology? Iridology, ever heard of that? Okay, it is a practice, an esoteric practice where people who are trained in this and observe things will take a picture of a person's eye. I don't know why I care about eyes so much, but they'll take a picture of a person's eye and then evaluate it, and they'll be able to see spots and specks in the iris of the eye that correspond to different systems in the body.
Oh, wow.
My mother-in-law is a certified iridologist. Good for her. And I was like, I wonder if AI could do that. I mean, I know it can do like all these other, analysis things where like people take their birthday and different aspects of their life and personality, and it'll tell them all about themselves. It'll hold up that mirror for them very, very quickly, way more quickly than a normal human can do it. And it turns out that I went looking, and sure enough, somebody has taken AI and trained it on iridology. So, instead of paying somebody $150 to do an iridology exam of you, AI can do it for $20 or free or $5 or however much the price point is. My son is big into AI. He has been, following along with ChatGPT and a bunch of other tools for a long time. Just this last week, a new tool dropped for creating videos with OpenAI, and it has now added sound. It's really remarkable. I mean, I used to do some work in graphic design, and it took a long time to edit and create models and to do the After Effects to make things appear a certain way, and now AI can do it in a minute, and the production quality is fantastic. So I guess what I'm pointing to here is, yes, most coaches will be out of a job, and most people are going to be out of a job, and there's going to be new jobs and new things that they can do with AI that they haven't even discovered yet. So for example, they'll be able to, I can take, in a year and a half, I presume in a year and a half, I'll be able to create a series, a movie or a television series, entertaining series that will depend on my ability to write funny content or interesting content that I can then feed into AI and have script lines, and the characters will be static, and they'll be able to have their own personalities, and they'll just get more and more deep. And if people are interested in that, instead of having to spend several million per episode, you can be in your home and spend $20 to have your subscription and create all this content. That it becomes much more about having a compelling story, which again points to, regardless of whether you're in coaching or not, who you're being and how you're dealing with life is going to be much more important than your skills.
I agree. Stuart, so jump in and tell us something about how this strikes you. Like, Dave, something you don't know about Stuart, he's a 4-time world champion martial artist. Like world champion. I was
thinking about that, and also you've spoken with Bandler. I've got Bandler books in my bookshelf, and I was like, freaking met the guy. I've never met him.
Yeah, all that stuff behind his head is like real life world champion stuff, and 57 times European champion, and I don't even know, but the numbers are incredible. And all of that is physical and real action and is never going to be replaced. So that militates to the fact that there's real life stuff that this isn't going to be able to do. So what are you thinking?
Yeah, I can't really argue with what either of you are saying, to be honest, because, Dave, you're absolutely right. It's not just coaching, is it? That there's going to be so many jobs as a whole that are going to, if not drastically change, disappear with the advancements in AI, but it's also going to open up other opportunities. And to your point, Kellan, like, if we're not practicing what we preach, if we're not being that embodiment of what we coach people about, then maybe the vehicle needs to change. But
up to now we could get by. That's the whole middle, the whole big 2-3/4 of what it's been is using tools and talking about things, and that's what disappears.
Yeah, it's true.
Are you using, Stuart, I know you are. How are you using AI tools right now in your practice, your coaching practice?
So I use it fairly minimally at the moment. My main AI source is ChatGPT, things like that I'm utilizing at the moment. I have had a play around with some, I forget the name of the tool now. 11 Labs, that was it.
Oh,
That's
11 Labs.
Voice synthesizing tool. So I had to play around with that, but at the time that wasn't very advanced, and I was thinking about creating an app and having it synthesize my voice, etc. And I had to play around with it, and it turned me American. So at the time it wasn't particularly accurate, but
not happening.
I'm sure it's more advanced now, because that was a number of months ago. But it's really, really interesting how it's going to develop, but it is how we respond to it that's going to determine everything. If we bury our heads in the sand, like you talk about, and just ignore it, it's not there, I'm not going to use it, then we're going to get left behind quickly. But I use ChatGPT the most at the moment, but I have a bunch of friends who are really into AI, and they keep telling me about different tools to try. So I'm more than happy, when I get the time, I'm more than happy to try some of these new iterations of things that come out.
But, you know what I'm going to do? I'm using 11 Labs just came out with version 3 about a month ago.
Okay.
And I'm going to use that. I'm going to use it to dictate all my books. I bought the expensive version, and I had to do a clone. And it isn't because I don't narrate well, and it isn't because I can't do that. I don't have any flipping time. I've got a university I'm building. I've got 2 books I'm writing, this, that, and the other. And I've been meaning for 5 years to get all my books on audiobook, and I keep getting ragged on. I'm going to take advantage of 11 Labs, and even if it isn't perfect, I'm going to use it. And then that'll give me space over 2 or 3 more years to replace them one at a time with narrated stuff, and I'll be able to see that. I'm curious, Dave, what's the name of that tool, the video tool with Chatty?
It's Sora 2.
Oh, Sora 2. Okay,
Open the eyes. Version.
I saw Sora in there. I just didn't know if that was it. So I'm going to tell you guys one more thing, and this militates toward the 5% or the 3%. It's actually 3%. When I did the same analysis on today and 14 months from now about And I define make a living as 100K US dollars. Arbitrary as hell, but I just figured with prices the way they are and things, cost of living, et cetera, if you're not making at least 100K, you're barely getting by, and you better have a second income or another job or something. And we can argue about that. But after it did all this stuff, including make me get emotional with my own crap, I said to it, okay, I get it. You're going to do this and you're going to do this and you're scaring the crap out of me. And the 11 different models of coaching that I put through the analysis, which I talk about in the book, about whether they're low vulnerability, medium vulnerability, or high vulnerability to AI, and whether or not they actually deliver on what the coaching model, what people really want, because people pay money. And so not always, but often it's associated with money that they want to grow. So I finally said, okay, fine. What is it that you can't do? What do you suck at? And I actually asked it that. What can't you do? And it gave me a list of things, and it talked some about the presence and the kinds of things you talked about when you talked about JP. But it said one thing that just encapsulated that all for me, and it said, I can't bleed. And I read that, and I thought, I get it. Okay. So let's go down that road. And bleed isn't necessarily bleed, but it is the presence and the truth of the connection, which cannot be, it just can't happen right now. What do you guys think coaches need if they want to stay in the business? And you're right, both of you, it's going to affect a million things, and we're going to have tons more free time and ability to do stuff. I don't know if that's going to affect the core elements that get in the way today of people's willingness to be seen, to be vulnerable, and to live their own life, which is often what we deal with when we're talking about elevating, human potential. But what do you guys think has to happen for coaches to be in that percentage that stay? Because I think you're right. One of you said they'll be more valuable. They will be. So what has to happen?
It's a good question. Yeah. Yeah.
You go first, Stuart, or
yeah, you go ahead, Dave. I need some thinking time on this one.
Okay, thank you. So there's something you're pointing to, and you pointed to it earlier, Kellan, which is that when you prompted ChatGPT to tell you who you are, no holds barred, turn off the kindness filters, tell me what's really going on here, and it moved you emotionally. I know that feeling. I grew up in a community that was quite homogenized from a spiritual perspective, if you will. Mm-hmm. And I grew up thinking that only people that saw the world the way I did could actually, those are the only people that could actually move me or could introduce me to strong emotions or to spirit, if you will. And when I went to the Landmark Forum, and the man was just talking with people about, the way that they see the world, and all of a sudden I've got these stirrings and these feelings that I associate with divine information coming into my soul. I was surprised, pleasantly surprised, but surprised again. I had to shift my worldview. Okay, I had to shift my worldview a lot. And I experienced that same depth of feeling when I was talking with AIJP. Mm-hmm. So, in the beginning was the word is the beginning of a very famous book. Right. Language models use words. I don't know if they can collapse the wave function yet. I don't know if they can be the observer that keeps something in a certain state, speaking from a quantum physics perspective. But I have had my soul moved from interacting with this reflection, this mirror, this whatever it is that I don't really have the words to describe yet. And because of that, I think that all there is for us coaches to do is to deepen our own being, to deepen our own value, to continue to invest in being and becoming that which we are here to be and become, that which we were created for, and if that doesn't work for you, then, what would love do, right? That's what we're here to be.
Stuart, I want you to say something, but I'm going to say one, if you want to. I'm going to say one more thing. And Stuart, you've heard me say this. Dave, I don't know if you have or not. The only gift, the only power that we each have, whether as coaches or other people that are not coaches, the most important thing we have to offer people is the story of our own becoming. That's all there is. Everything else we learn to do, even if it's valuable, write code, plant gardens, do engineering, it's that thing over there. And it does not carry the power of truth that you described in the word. Words have power, but they have power when they are infused with the truth of being. And so a choice, and this is why I said $10, $10,000, hard to do, because that means that if we as coaches are going to stay in the game, then we have to make a choice that we are involved deeply up to our necks every day, all the time, in that becoming and awareness, because that is the commodity. Steve McGee, who's a friend of mine, calls it presencing. If that's all there is, because after that, it's just crap we learned somewhere. And AI is going to blow us out of the water with all that, right? So that's the way I hear what you're saying. Stuart, what do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And my as you know, Kellan, my idol is Bruce Lee because of the martial arts stuff. And one of the things that he said, and as I'm sure you know, he's a bit of a philosopher, and he would say, words cast spells. That's why we call it spelling. And you're exactly right. The words can move us emotionally and can have that power, but what's the real presence behind the words as well? And like you say, that story, the person that's saying those words and invoking their story, their passion, their frequency, their vibration into the words. Yeah, I don't think AI can replicate that. And so, yeah, that's where, like you say, as coaches, we have to practice what we preach. We have to be that presence with every single fiber of our beings and be truly resonant and congruent with who we are at the core, and then connect with others at that level.
That's my number 3. That work, I find, for most people at least, is really hard. So head in the sand, the ante's gone up, and it's hard because that's a choice you have to make every day. I don't know. All right. Well, I really appreciate it. Dave, do you have anything to say? We're about to our...
I do have one more thing I'd like to share, which is to...
Please do. I mean, we're not done. I'm saying we're getting
I hear you.
More toward the end.
So the messaging that, that I've heard from Townsend, that I've heard from you is kind of doomy gloomy. And it's not doomy gloomy intentional. It's not like, you're doomed because you suck. It's more along the lines...
Yeah.
It's more along the lines of, this is changing the game, and what has worked in the past will no longer work going forward. Now, this has been the human experience through history, right? I wanted to say that in my ILP training, there was this axiom that they shared with us, which is that everyone is doing the very best they can, given the circumstances they find themselves in and the resources that they have available. Now, I didn't learn directly from the master. I think I was 3 generations away from Bandler. Not worthy, Stuart. But the upside of this is that if a person is willing to own their integrity and take responsibility for their life and be in a way that is powerful and do the hard work. I just got off a phone call cleaning up something that a mess I left like a year and a half ago with a friend over in Britain. Okay. And it was not comfortable. I did not like doing it. And I feel so much better than I did having cleaned that up. Right. So restoring integrity is what I call that. Thank you, Landmark. The whole point of this is that with the advancements that we're seeing and that we will yet see and that will yet unfold, the available resources will exponentially increase. And
No
it will
question about that.
it's going to be just more and more discovery of these resources and how to use them. And oh, I have this crazy idea. What if we did this? And you find that there's 15 people that have already created, workable solutions. and they're free or they're cheap, The world is changing, and it's changing in a way that is going to be at first painful, and then I think you can apply this to coaching, you can apply this to accounting, you can apply this to tax preparation, you can apply this to anything where people have sat and tapped things into a keyboard, more or less. I'm sure there'll be some exceptions, to where it is a brave new world, and we get to create based on our preferences, based on what's important to us, the direction we go with that. And it's possible that everybody gets to win. That's my message of hope. Thank you for listening.
I can't agree with you more. Stuart, do you have any final thoughts before we kind of wrap up?
Yeah, so piggybacking off what you just said there, David, I used to be a strength and conditioning coach a long, long time ago. And one of the principles within physical adaptation is something called general adaptation syndrome. And there's usually a little chart that accompanies it. And basically, when the body is introduced to a stressor, in this context, exercise, initially, the body's reaction is negative. It goes down under that stress, under that load, and then it's in that alarm phase. But then the body adapts. And in the adaptation phase, things get back up to a baseline. We get back to homeostasis. And then we go into, if we give enough rest and enough processing time, we go into supercompensation. And this is the same sort of thing. The world is changing. So now it's that stressful phase, what you just alluded to there, Dave. And so we have to adapt. We have to process what's going on. Okay, what solutions are out there? People are doing it. Okay. And then we get the supercompensation at the end, all those additional resources that we didn't have before, and all the advancements that we didn't even know were coming yet. So yeah, I second the message of hope, Dave.
I love it. And so then let's make a commitment for ourselves that we're going to be the beacons of hope. And as those who've chosen to stay, stay in the coaching profession, knowing that we've got to be that kind of message of hope, beacon, I call it a beacon of light, vessel of love, conduit of power. We've chosen to stay in that realm. Then it is our choice and opportunity to be that, carry the message that everybody can win. You can do this. There is a way. And whether you use a, AI coach from JP or Kellan or Dave or Dorkstick or Stuart or anybody else, the tools are there, and it's another tool. And the key is to love yourself enough to really get good, not just at what you do, but at who you are. Cool. Well, thanks both of you guys for being here today. I think this was a fun episode, and it just blows me away every time I do this. And I've done now 5 or 6 of them. It's not like I've done 50, but there will be 50 pretty soon. Every one of them is way different. So look on the Thursday episodes on Your Ultimate Life if you want to see more of these, and you might want to share them with coaches that they're. I think that it's so far, at least being the single participant in all of them, has been really valuable. So thanks, both of you. Stuart, appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me on, Kellan. I appreciate it.
Dave, thanks for being here and for rebooting your computer.
My pleasure. God bless technology.
Yeah. Hey, listen, listeners, I want you to take this. Maybe most of the listeners here on Thursdays are going to be coaches, and maybe they're not. But the truth is, we don't know everything that's coming, but it is coming, and it ain't small. And so the invitation here is to be hopeful, to take action, and to always move forward to create your ultimate life.
Never hold back, and you'll never ask why. Open your heart, and this time around,
Right here, right now, your opportunity for massive growth is right in front of you. Every episode gives you practical tips and practices that will change everything. If you want to know more, go to kellanflukigermedia.com. If you want more free tools, go here, yourultimatelife.ca. Subscribe, share.
Stand with your heart in the sky and your feet on the ground.